In this video, we discuss 7 genius things that retirees do with their money. Coming up next on Holy Schmidt.
Holy Schmidt!
There are too many articles and videos out there that tell you to do the following if you want to be successful in retirement. Pay off your credit card, pay off your mortgage, join a discount club, buy income producing assets, and delay Social Security. These are all sound recommendations and should be considered by every retiree. But that list is pretty common. What you're going to hear next is both smart and effective, but the list isn't comprised of things that you hear of often. And my guess is maybe for many of you, this is the first time hearing some, if not all of these. It's also worth pointing out that genius doesn't mean complicated, it means effective in the context of how we're using it in this video. So the points up next are designed to have massive impact and reasonably easy to execute. But their genius comes from follow-through. Like most things in life, ideas are good, action is better. It's also worth saying that this list is not all-inclusive. If you have something to add, please add it in the comments section below so that others can learn from your experience. As always, I'll remind you at the end. All right, let's get going. Point number 1 is build a 30 to 45-day cash buffer in your cash flow. One of the most widely opinionated points in personal finance is the cash flow buffer. This is often confused with an emergency fund. The two are distinctly different, although they can exist in the same account. However, there is something far more practical about having a cash flow buffer than an emergency fund, and that is the elimination of living paycheck to paycheck, which can cause all sorts of bad things to happen. Let me explain. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, your credit cards tend to get drawn very quickly. And oftentimes when the next payday comes in or when the next paycheck comes in, that credit card doesn't get paid down. And all of a sudden, credit card creep happens. Before you know it, you're underwater with high interest rate consumer debt. The next thing that happens is that you miss paying bills or you pay them late, which has a negative effect on your credit report. And then there's the other side, frankly, probably more important for saving money, and that is you miss the opportunity to pay things annually when you are paying them monthly because you just don't have the cash. Because you're paying them monthly, you miss out on many discounts. An example would be a magazine subscription, a streaming service such as Netflix, or an HVAC repair and maintenance contract for your home. There are literally dozens of these that you can pay annually and you'll get a sizable discount every year on your cash flow, and as this builds, you can even increase that 45 days to 60 or even 90 days if you really choose to do so. Then there are the discounts that you get by committing early or buying off season. Travel is the most relevant here. Every year in January, I spend time in Miami Beach, and by committing early, as in September of 2022 for a January of 2023 stay, I save about 50% on the cost of the hotel. The same can be said about buying a central air conditioning unit in September, buying your snow skis in March, etc. Finally, the cash buffer just lets you sleep better at night because you know that when you wake up in the morning, you're not going to be wondering how to pay the bills when they come due in the next few days. If you want to know how to build a cash buffer, go to my website, holyschmidt.com/buffer, and there will be a quick report there for you to download, and it will take you step by step through the exact process. It's very easy, step by step through the exact process to build your own cash buffer. I'll remind you at the end so that you don't need to stop the video to go to the website now. Point number 2 is to continue to think deeply about your investments. Just because you retire doesn't mean that your investments retire. Most people confuse this point because they know that once they retire, cultivation begins. But still, you have 30 years ahead of you in many cases, so it makes sense to continue to think about where you put your money and how you use your money. The fact is, when people hit retirement, they sometimes do some pretty silly things with their money, and frankly, less so with people who watch these videos, but oftentimes you hear about someone who loses their life savings simply because they stopped thinking about what they were doing. Just because you retire doesn't mean that your money has to. Point number 3 is to improve your quality of life. Many of you have heard about the S-curve or Schmidt curve, and I take you through how to spend your money in most cases in retirement, how to think about spending your money anyway. And it starts off on the left, basically capturing the needs of your retirement, all the way through the right to the rock and roll lifestyle that you could potentially enjoy if you had unlimited funds in your retirement. The fact is, most people spend their working years putting the needs of their family ahead of their own. Now is the time to take care of number 1. Sometimes these sacrifices actually put your health and well-being at risk in order to make sure that the health and well-being of your family stays sound. This doesn't mean you need to spend a lot more, but the fact is improving your quality of life means that you make different choices. You give up processed food, fatty meats. You spend less time in front of the television and more time traveling, or at least in the great outdoors, walking. Take the funds that you were spending on things like saving for your kids' college or saving for their clothes in the fall, and replace that with something as basic as joining a health club if you feel like you need to get in shape. Of course, see your doctor first, but ultimately, taking care of number one, now is the time to do it because you're not going to have another time besides now. Point number 4, now is the time to invest in yourself. There's an overused economic term called the opportunity cost of a decision. This simply means that if you choose opportunity A or option A and you put all of your time and money into that opportunity, you are foregoing the other option, option B, because you can't be in two places at the same time and you can't spend the same dollar twice. If you raise a family, for example, a truly noble and fulfilling outcome for many, many people, you forego the opportunity of retiring early if you were single, and you could save all of the money that you were putting into your family and investing that instead in cash flow producing assets. You started working as a carpenter right out of high school to start generating money. You gave up the opportunity to be a sculptor, to follow your life's passion. One of the best things about retirement is that right now you have more time in most cases than you had over the last 40 years. And if you're going to invest in yourself, now is the time to do it. This means that many of the safe choices, the practical choices that you made as you were thinking about and building your life with a family and thinking about what you're going to do in the years ahead, need not define what you're going to do now in these years ahead. Many retirees use these years to pursue their life's passions, to accomplish big things, to start that business that they wanted to start, to get in the best shape of their life, to open a new store or studio, to learn a skill that is worth a lot to them, both personally and professionally in many cases. Others use this time to invest in things that are only special to them, maybe even quirky to other people, but that doesn't matter because it's all about you when you are investing in yourself. Just remember, now is your time. So you have a unique opportunity to invest in yourself and do that thing that you wanted to do over the last 40 years. Point number 5 is to remodel your home. There's a strange return on investment, or ROI, when it comes to a home if you get it right. If you think about what sells a home, its location, its appearance, and its square footage. You can't change the location of your home, at least not without moving, but you can improve its appearance and you can actually make it larger in many cases. The return on investment, or ROI, has traditionally had a higher impact on a home than many other investments. If a $100 investment has an ROI of 50%, for example, you put in $100 and you get $150 back. Money Magazine recently produced a list of the best ROI home improvement projects. And according to Money Magazine, this list that I'm about to share with you has the best outcome when it comes to getting your money back and then some. Sometimes 100% ROI or more. The number one ROI project, according to Money Magazine, in most cases anyway, is refinishing hardwood floors. In the instance of refinishing hardwood floors, you get 147% return, meaning if you put $100 in, you get $247 back. $1,000 in, $2,470 back. The size of your hardwood floor refurb will be more than that, more than likely, at least in dollar terms, but the dollar return will also be higher. I'll put a link to the Money Magazine article below in the description so that you can see if what they're recommending and the returns that they're suggesting apply to you. All right, let's continue on. Money move number 6 is upgrading your appliances to energy efficient appliances. Let me take you through the math on this. Energy prices have gone through the roof as of late. According to the Consumer Price Index, heating oil, for example, is up 77% year over year. Electricity is up 15.2%, and natural gas is up over 30%. This makes upgrading your appliances both good for the wallet and good for the environment. But the top question you should be asking, or one of the top questions you should be asking, is what is your payback period? A payback period is simply the amount of time it takes to recover the additional money that you spent on replacing the appliance versus using the old one. If you have a new air conditioning system and it costs $5,000, but you save $1,000 a year in electricity costs, the payback period is $5,000 divided by 1,000, or 5 years. Of course, if your unit is already coming to an end to its useful life, then the choice is simply the difference between the unit that replaces what you're consuming now and the more efficient unit. Let's say choice A is $3,000 and that's the unit that replaces what you already have, same energy efficiency. Choice B is $5,000 and that unit saves you $1,000 per year. The real difference then, or the real payback period, is just the price difference between the two. The difference between $3,000 and $5,000 is $2,000. And if you save $1,000 per year with the better unit, then your payback period is 2 years. Point 7, and one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful of all of them, is to use a daily calendar and a system like the bullet journal system. Let me explain. If time is money, then controlling how you use your time also means controlling how you use your money. A good journal helps you plan how you're going to spend money in the years ahead. When to think about replacing that air conditioner that we talked about earlier, or when to buy the skis that we talked about even earlier than that. You simply put it in your journal and you forget about it. Most importantly, using a daily calendar, a daily journal, frees your mind for other things, and once you put it on paper, then you can forget about it. Now, every time I show my paper journal, I get at least a dozen comments in a video that talk about using a paper journal is akin to living in the Stone Ages. But let's assume for a second that I actually know how to use the scheduling function on my phone, which I do. Why would I ever use a paper journal? Because paper planners allow you to set pause on your phone, on your computer, and virtual meetings, to name just a few. Writing things down can give you more quiet time, and actually what you're thinking about is more deliberate. You focus on the tasks that are necessary in the future rather than multitasking, checking social media for prolonged periods of time, etc. In short, a paper planner allows you to be more deliberate, stay in the moment, and keep focused on what it is you're working on. This will allow you to interact a little bit more thoroughly with your information instead of waiting for the notification to tell you what has to be done next. And just to highlight this point a little bit further, in 2014, 32% of adult readers had a digital device like a Kindle or an iPad that had a Kindle function. Today, that number is 19%. Don't get me wrong, a digital replacement goes a long way to help save the planet and save space in your backpack. But the experience is different. One only need to look at a college bookstore to see that they still sell books to know what I'm talking about. College students would be on the cutting edge of this argument because of where they sit in the world today. But college students are still buying books. Here's a recent photo I took at a college bookstore about 4 or 5 weeks ago. You can see that the shelves are filled with college books. Also, as a reminder, if you have something to add to this list, please put it in the comments section below so that others can learn from your wisdom. Finally, don't forget to go to the description and check for the links that we talked about, including the link to how to build a cash reserve. This is Jeff Schmidt. Thanks for watching.